So with no further ado, let us welcome the most amazing Dr. Harry Morgan Moses.
Well, good morning, everybody. Am I on? No, I'm not. Now I am. Here we go, coming into the room. Well, look at you all. Where'd you all come from? You weren't here when I walked in. Nice to see you this morning. So, making welcome the good. Making welcome the good. Well, there's a great line. I'm going to read this one line from you here. This is a line from our good friend, Dr. Ernest Holmes. And the line is, if I get my notes the right way, there is a declaration of faith in a certain principle. This is right from Dr. Holmes. A declaration of faith in a certain principle is quite different than the conscious use of that principle. A declaration of faith. You know, I heard that there's one power, and that power is perfect, and that power is the perfect life of God, and that I am that life. I heard that. I generally support that idea. Right? Or, you know, my thoughts create my experience. Well, I kind of believe that. I sort of feel like that's kind of right. Right? And then we forget there's a principle. There's a principle connected, right? So you can't say, well, some of my thoughts, you know, are creative, and other thoughts are not creative. Why? Because I don't want the bad thoughts to be creative, and I only want the good ones to be creative. However, but if there's a principle involved, it's kind of like, well, I'd like to use the electricity to make toast, or I'd like to put the toaster in the bathtub, right? The principle will work the same, right? It just doesn't go well with the bathtub. You follow? So you and I are kind of in an interesting place. Once we come into this idea, we used to, in the teaching, we used to say, and I've been talking. Somebody said, I went to get a coffee this morning at the Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf. I don't own stock in the company, but I had my own coffee cup, and the coffee cup is a birthday present somebody gave me, and it says, you know, moon children, cancer. It has the dates, and it says qualities of the cancer people. She looked at the coffee cup. She says, my dad is a Cancer. You're the strong, quiet type. And I thought, well, then why have I been talking for 36 years? Right? Because I have to admit, you know, when I was young, not that I'm not young, but you get what I'm talking about. When I was young, I really caught it. You know, we had just come out of Woodstock. There was a new sense of, you know, get on the love train and people coming together. And I was so enthusiastic about the world awakening, about people getting it, that, you know, the old Rodney King question, can't we all just get along, you know? People think, well, that wasn't a deep question. No, that was a very, very deep question. And it's one that we're still asking, right? Can't we all just get along? And I was so optimistic and so enthusiastic. You know, in the beginning of the Science of Mind textbook, it says, these lessons are dedicated to that truth that frees man from himself, that puts him on the pathway to a new reality, that enables him to see through the mist into the eternal and changeless reality. And I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to start talking, and in a few weeks, the world is going to see through the mist. And we're all going to be holding up the light, and we're going to be living in an age of peace and love and freedom and empowerment. It's going to be fantastic. And then I don't know about any of the rest of you, but I read the daily newspaper, and I go, what the heck happened? Right? Well, you know, first of all, I don't want to be not optimistic. I still am enthusiastic and optimistic. But I have changed this whole idea about I need to change the world, because I recognize the only way I can change the world is by changing me. And that's a lot different than, I generally support that idea. You know what I mean? So there's a story I'll tell you. Back again in the days of enthusiasm, we, the religious science people, had two organizations that they had splintered off. And, so you get this idea, you go back now 25 years, and you learn the teaching. The teaching is, I know there's one power. That power is perfect. That power is the perfect life of God. And that power is my life, right here and right now, right? You learn that teaching. And then you learn about the organization. It says, well, there's only one power, but there are two organizations. And there's only one truth, and Ernest is the real teacher, but we teach Ernest better than they teach Ernest. Right? And so it was sort of very confusing. So when this idea that we were going to come together, that we could come together happened, we were all just wow, and there was going to be this big meeting down in the Disneyland area, and the two organizations were going to come together, and we were going to have a rally about what it would be like to come together. And one of the speakers at that rally was named Dr. Dan Morgan. And Mary was just up here, Mary Morgan, and I'm Harry Morgan. I was thinking, what was Dr. Dan's last name? I couldn't think of it. Oh yeah, Morgan. But Dr. Dan was the founder of the church over here in the Inglewood area, and the Guidance Church, and he was one of the very first African-American New Thought teachers. Certainly in Chicago, Johnny had started. But up in Dr. Johnny Coleman. But it was the beginning of African Americans beginning to really take this message, which is such a message of unity and equality. I mean, the whole teaching is based on God is entirely equal. God is entirely equal. The laws of God are entirely equal. The law of electricity will treat everybody exactly the same. You follow? A law and a principle is equal. If it's a principle, it's equal. It's everywhere. That principle works everywhere, right? You go anywhere on the planet, North Pole, South Pole, and you drop something, it's going to fall down, right? Whichever way down is, it's going to go down, right? It's a principle. It works the same way for everybody. So we have come into a teaching that says there's one power, one presence, one life, one God, and God created each and all in the image and likeness of God. Well, then we all get confused. We say, well, then how come we look so different? Well, did you ever go to a garden? Have you ever been to a garden? You ever looked at a garden? They're all different colored flowers. But everybody doesn't go, well, that's a very divided garden. It's a little bit of a paradox to embody that out of unity comes all multiplicity. Out of unity comes all individuality. But it never changes the unity of all things, right? So so I was a fan of Dr. Dan's because my teacher, Dr. Bill Hart, was the one who came to my hospital bed when the doctor said I would never walk again, right? And he said, well, there's another idea. You could have another idea. Well, trust me, I like that doctor's vision better than the other doctor's vision, right? And so I just chose between the doctors. I said, I like that doctor better. I'm going with his, right? And he was right, because I decided that he was right. You follow? And it was very easy, because I didn't have to make it right. I just had to realize it was right. You follow? There's one power. That power is perfect. That power is the perfect life of God, and that power is my life right here and right now. Well, then I don't have to work at being able to walk again. I can already walk again. The doctor said I'd never ski again. I've been skiing every year. My family skis, my grandchildren ski. I got 6 grandchildren, all skiers now, right? Everybody skis. Well, but you were told 40 years ago you weren't going to walk again. Well, that was an old story. That's an old story, right? Well, yeah, but what about? There's a pattern. The pattern is the pattern of wholeness. I'm born in the image and likeness of wholeness. Beyond appearances, I am that. And we begin to live from this other vision of the world, right? Ralph Waldo Emerson said, what you are speaks so loudly I can't hear what you're saying, right? We begin to live from another place. And so now, after talking for all of these years, I've been working now because, I felt, God, I've talked to thousands and thousands of people. I've talked thousands and thousands of hours. I've taught hundreds and hundreds of classes. And I'm thinking, boy, where is the breakout? Where's the fire? When's the world? Somebody light the fire. Let's catch the world on fire with truth, right? Well, we might be getting closer, because sometimes right before things get better, they look worse. You ever seen that in your experience? So maybe what's happening in the world right now is all of this separating is because we're beginning to see the separation isn't true. We're going to see that which makes us different isn't true. That we're all the same, that we were all given exactly the same potential. Now, everybody doesn't do the same thing with potential. Have you noticed that? Right? Sometimes you could be loaded with talent and become a drug addict. Sometimes you could be so talented that you stay in a cave and never express yourself, right? But the potential is there. You have to decide to line up with the potential. But if I and this power are one, then I can get my, as Ralph Waldo Emerson said, my bloated nothingness out of the way of the divine circuits. I could get my bloated nothingness out of the way of the divine circuits. And I used to say that line, repeat that line, and people walked to me in the back of the room and said, I hate it when you talk about bloated nothingness. I say, that's the bloated nothing you that's talking about that. Right? Because our small self is the one that has fear and doubts and worries and anxieties. It's the one that keeps us up at night. It's the one where we need to change our mind and move another direction. We need to, every time your mind goes that way, you got to go, oh, stop, we're going the other way. Right? Accentuate that old song, accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, and do not mess with Mr. In Between. Get out of there. So when the negative shows up, you can't dwell there. You got to change your mind. You have to go look at this potential and go, okay, well, that's the way it's showing up right now, but how could it be? What would be possible? If it were good and all good, how much good would it be? Now we're going back to Dr. Dan Morgan. So I'm a friend of Dr. Dan's, and now Dan is at this big integration conference, and he's one of the featured speakers, and his talk title is The Only Thing You Cannot Have. And Dr. Dan was a poet. Boy, if you ever get a video or an audio of him, this guy, he was so poetic. I mean, the way he put words together and the paintings he pictured with his words were just marvelous. So he's got a 20-minute time zone. I know how this works. They all got 20-minute time zones. They got people showing up signs. They got to get off the stage. They get off the stage. And Dan is now like 80% through the talk. And the talk title he had was The Only Thing You Cannot Have. And he's been waxing poetically and taking us all over the place. And I'm beginning to get concerned about my friend Dr. Dan because he didn't explain the title to anybody yet. Right? And so finally, he gets to toward the very end of his talk. So he takes a big, deep breath and says, so the only thing you cannot have. The whole place just went, okay, now what? Because we didn't know. You talked a lot, but we didn't know. He says, the only thing you cannot have is that which you cannot embody. The only thing you cannot have is that which you cannot embody. Meaning, you can't just know about the philosophy. You have to embody the philosophy. You have to know we are one, and not just talk about we are one, right? You have to know it. You have to feel it. It automatically, you say, well, so here's a truth. Here's a truth. Harry Morgan Moses loves you. Oh, he doesn't even know me. No, you don't understand. You're born in the image and likeness of God. God has ordained that you are the awakened one, that you are the Christ, you're the Buddha, you're the Atman, that these things and more, healing of the sick, making the blind see, the deaf hear, walking on water, calming the storm, these things and more can you do. God has already said you are that. Now, the difference is I know that God already said that about you. So I have to embody it. I have to live from that place that you are that, whether you even ever heard of it or not. Do you follow? Because God is equal. God has done everything equal. God has made laws that work the same for everybody. And we are that. And so God has said, I am this awakening Christ, this Buddha coming into fruition, this Atman becoming fulfilled. By every tradition, they all got it. They all call it different things, but it's the same, right? They're saying there's only the one, the enlightened one. That's the real you. But it didn't say, no, Harry is, and you're not. No, it says, if that's the truth about Harry, and that is a principle of God, then that is the truth about everybody. Right? So I had to get some new glasses, and I made a mistake. I picked lenses, frames I didn't like. Well, they have a policy at LensCrafters. After 30 days, you can trade them for free if you don't like them. I didn't know I didn't like him until day 35. And at day 35, I really knew I didn't like him. Every time I looked, I didn't like the way they looked. They kept falling out of my pocket and getting more scratched. I knew because my subconscious was rejecting my good. So you all have, every one of us has within us the subconscious mechanism, which is what we really believe. Not what you think you believe or you heard you believe, but what you really believe. What you really believe is what's showing up in your experience. I didn't really believe the doctors that said I would never walk again. You get that, right? I didn't really believe the doctors that said I would be permanently damaged beyond normal being able to behave like a normal athlete. I said, no, I didn't believe that, right? And I began to believe in the pattern of wholeness, the idea of perfection that belongs to each and every one of us, and that this pattern, no matter what I've done with it, is still whole, complete, and perfect, and therefore that's my true and eternal nature. Yes? Whoa. So but your subconscious will lock on to whatever you believed. Did anybody ever tell you, what do you think, money grows on trees? Well, if you're a farmer in Florida, it certainly does. That's where the money comes from, is the trees, right? You ask any farmer where the money comes from, they'll say the trees, or money grows on the trees. Oh, now you have to work the field, but it grows on the field. You follow? So we got told things that weren't true about. Who do you think you are? Something special? The answer to that question is absolutely. But now, just because I said I'm something special doesn't mean I don't think you're something special. And my being something special has no limitations on your being something special. Does it impose on your being special? You follow how it works? It's a principle. So we have to learn how to embody the principle. So we all have created within ourselves this law of too much good. How much good can I have? I want you to know I've made some progress. I went from a 20-year-old Mercedes to a 3-year-old Mercedes. Woo! Right? But my consciousness is growing. I got 2 years of unconditional mileage, unlimited mileage on the thing. All right, now we're talking. A Mercedes that doesn't cost you a fortune to own every day. Right? But I had to get my consciousness there, and it took me, I have owned old BMWs and old Mercedes for 20 years. It took me 20 years to realize I could deserve my good. Do you follow? But you have to make room for that good. You have to make room within yourself for that greater good, because you know what it is. Well, so I'd like you, let's all go to Mastro's for dinner tonight. Well, I can't, I can't go to Mastro's to dinner. Why? Well, because it's $300 for one person for dinner. Well, that's right. You don't deserve that. That's right. You shouldn't have that. So you cannot have that until you really get it together. You follow? Is that a universal law? Did God make a law that said we all can't go to Mastro's? No. You made that up, that you can't go to Mastro's. You follow? If you wanted to go to Mastro's and you didn't want to have a credit card debt, you could build your consciousness, just like Dr. Moira does. You want to go to the retreat, you put a few dollars away right now, every week. And you put away, and you go to the retreat. You want to go to Mastro's, you could do it that way. You could get your consciousness there if you deserved, you believed it. You follow? But you have to believe you deserve it. Not that you deserve, you believe it. You have to go the other way around. You have to believe you deserve it, right? Good and more good is mine. Everybody say that. Good and more good is mine. There's no limit to the good that is mine. Everywhere I go, I see this good. I feel it. I experience it. It crowds itself against me. It flows through me. It multiplies itself around me. And I'm grateful. Right? Each one of us has to create that place where there's room for the good. There's room for more good. How much good can you have? Because you see that the limitation on good did not happen from God. God gave you itself in its entirety. What God thinks about comes about. You were created in the image and likeness of God. What you think about comes about. Right? You're given full authority to decide how much good is yours. But if you don't start making room for it in your own consciousness, there's no way for it to get there. I'll share you another line from the good Dr. Holmes here. I like this line. If we wish to experience a larger degree of livingness, our bowl of acceptance must be held up so that the outpouring of Spirit may be measured into the individual experience. So everybody do me a favor now. You don't have to stand up if you don't want to, but just put your arms up in the air. Right? Now, this is your bowl of acceptance. Right? Now, close it up a little bit. Close it up a little bit more. Now, this is all, I want you only to have this much. Do you follow? No, okay, who said that? Well, your mom said that, your dad said that, the divorce said that, the circumstance said that, your ex said that, the lover said that. Whoever said you could only have this much? And you decided to believe them. But your cup of whole consciousness must be held open and wide and receptive. You see, so everybody say, I'm open. I'm open, I'm wide. I'm receptive. Wow, I'm telling you, right? It passes through belief systems. It passes through everything when you get there. You have to be the one who says, there's room in my life for greater good, that it's not over. Because I didn't speak for 27 years professionally every Sunday and teach all those classes and do all of that stuff to be wondering at the end of it what I do this all for. And the answer is I did this so that yes, of course you're my brothers and sisters, because there's only one God, there's only one truth, where all God is equal to everybody, and it's all available to everybody. You hold up this much, you hold up this much, it's up to you how much you're holding up. You follow? Because my good does not interrupt your good. Did anybody notice when I'm driving around in my fancy Mercedes, which I really love, because I love cars, did anybody notice that their good was diminished because all of a sudden mine increased? Nobody went, oh, what happened? Dr. Harry took too much. You follow? If anything, you might be getting some smiles because Dr. Harry's vibing out every time he's driving. It's like, wow, this is a car. Woo! Do you follow? It's like a kid in a candy shop. But it multiplies your good. It doesn't detract from your good. It multiplies. If you get a greater good, that's good for me. The more you make room for that good, the better I am. Right? Well, then the same way. I feel the same way about you. It's like, well, wow. People say, well, Dr. I'm so happy you came to speak to us. Well, I'm happy I am too, because if I talked and nobody listened, what's the whole point? You follow? The whole point is that this is available to everybody. But I can tell you what the principle is. You can hear about it, but you're going to have to move into the practice of it. So the practice is really not that complicated. It's very simple. In fact, Dr. Holmes made it very clear. Daily we meditate. Daily we meditate. We meditate in order to breathe in Spirit. Imagine this I am that I am, right? This I am that I am is immersed in all of God. And all of God is too big for my little brain. You follow? Not that yours isn't little too, but you get what I'm talking about. Our little brains can't imagine the vastness of the all good that is God. It's very hard to imagine. So we have to start stretching ourselves into the all good of our own lives. Because what's your flavor of all good might be a little different than my flavor of all good. You follow? When my brother got divorced and he got a new girlfriend, the girlfriend came up to our house, and I put on, Alexa, play contemporary pop music. And she goes, oh, no, pop music, oh, no. And I went, she says, what about country music? And I went, oh, no. Right? But I came up with a solution. I said, how about Jimmy Buffett? Oh, yeah, we're all on the same page. You follow? There's a way to find out that how our goods all work together with each other. You follow? It's always there, but sometimes we have to knock on that door of possibility. We have to knock on that door of... So we need to meditate because our minds are not big enough to get the concept of a God that's great, that is that great. You mean God gave me everything? Yeah. So, well, how do I get to everything? You have to change your mind so you can change your experience, right? Well, I woke up this morning with my mind saved on Spirit. You follow? Hello, I woke up this morning with my mind. I woke up this morning at 4:30 in the morning because, trust me, I could talk for 3.5 hours. Good news, I'm not going to, but you get the idea. So I have to discern in this little bit of time that I have to share with you, how can I get this light to you. How can I get it? So I told myself, I'll wake up, I'll meditate at 4:50 this morning. So I woke up at 4:30 this morning, and my mind was too busy, so I had to quiet myself in meditation. Meditation is for in-breathing spirit. And then spiritual mind treatment, which is, by the way, the best spiritual tool you can ever imagine. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. You're not using it enough, I promise you. Nobody could use it too much, because you use step 1, which is God is all there is, and step 2 is I am what that is. You're linking yourself to the cosmos itself, not randomly, consciously. And consciously is the difference, because the only way you can know God is to be conscious of your knowledge of God. Do you get that? The only way you can know God is to be conscious of your knowledge of God. You have to know that you know, and know that your knowing is right. You have to feel it. You have to be with it. So daily we meditate, and daily we do spiritual mind treatment. Good and more good is mine. There's no limit to the good that is mine. Everywhere I go, I see this good. I feel this good. It crowds itself against me. Therefore, I open my heart wider, and there it is. There's a greater love. There's a love that transcends time and space and words and being. It is. And right now, you read the newspaper and all of this talk about separation and difference. We have to see through the mist. You and I are the ones. Only people who are conscious can do it. We have to see through the mist and know none of it is true. There's no such thing as any human being that's better than any other human being. Not any saint, not any sage, not Jesus, not Buddha, nobody. Nobody is better than anybody else, because God deals only in equality. It's how much of God are you embodying? How much of God are you taking in? How much of God are you practicing on a daily basis? I got 6 grandkids, 2 beloved children, 2 beautiful in-loves, not in-laws, in-loves. I've got friends of all backgrounds. I've got people who I connect with. I get smiles from all people all over the world. And it's because I do not move downstairs into separation and difference. I move upstairs into unity, into wholeness, into the love of God and God's love of all its creation. Wow. But everybody could do that. Everybody can do that. But everybody isn't doing it. Well, so long as we stay away from truth, we'll deal with the suffering created by ignorance. The more we move up into truth, the more we participate in truth, the more you're going to see the fallout of people who love each other, honor each other, respect each other, and support each other, and bring forth more love into the world. My goddaughter just gave birth to her first son. I christened my goddaughter 26 years ago. And 26 years later, there's a new light unto the world. You're a light unto the world. We need little Fletcher, who was just born, and we need you, because you already know step 1 and step 2. God is, and I am, and that's the truth about all people. And therefore, that's the truth about an awakening humanity, and that's the way we bring in a world that works for everyone. It's about what you practice, it's about what you embody, and it's about living in the reality of your spiritual magnificence. So I love you because I know you stepped into this sanctuary, which means you know about your magnificence. But I love you because you stepped into this sanctuary, and that means you know about all of humanity's magnificence. And because of that, your eyes can transcend and begin to see things as they really are. A world of love and beauty and wisdom. A world of the omnipresence of God. God the all-good. What a gift. So I thank you for being you. I thank you for having the ears to hear. And I thank you for dressing up and showing up and bringing your light into the world. And I end every talk the same way. Wherever you are in your spiritual journey, everything's going to work out just fine. And I invite you to think on these things And together, let us explore the possibilities. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Yay. Bless you.